Welcome to the Hockey Writers Blackhawks Banter, a weekly show with our top Chicago Blackhawks writing crew, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, game results, and much more. From training camp to the playoffs, from Chelsea Dagger to the Madhouse on Madison, our team covers everything that happens with the Hawks. So get comfortable, grab a beverage. It's time for some Blackhawks Banter. Blackhawks Banter.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Blackhawks Banter. I'm your host, Greg Boysen. As always, I'm joined with my Blackhawks crew from the Hockey Writers, Shaun Fillippelli, Brooke, LoFurno, and Gail, Kauchak. How is everybody doing this week?
Hanging in there. Yeah.
All righty. As always, if you're watching us on our YouTube channel, please make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss not only any of our Blackhawk Banner episodes, but all the great shows we've got across the board. We've got a ton of team shows like ours, kind of like the Grind Line and Maple Leafs Lounge, and plenty of general hockey shows as well. I hear that Prospect Corner show is pretty good. That's the rumor going around. Maybe you should check that one out. Also, make sure you follow us all on Twitter. We have our names right here. If you're watching on YouTube, follow us along on Twitter. You can interact with us there. The show has its own account, THW Blackhawks, at THW Blackhawks. So you can follow the Blackhawks Banter account as well. We're all over the place. We're on Discord. If you're into that thing, I still quite haven't figured it out, but I've got too many gray hairs for that, I think. But check us out over there. We're all there in the Blackhawks channel. You can give us some questions and topics to cover for future shows there. We love hearing from you guys, or drop a comment in the YouTube channel, or send it old school, smokescreen style. Doesn't matter how you get it to us. We love hearing from you. So please give us some feedback. So with that out of the way, we're going to just get right into the show. And I think we can't really move on until we address the elephant in the room. Of course, this has been just a brutal week, not just being a Blackhawk fan, but just a fan of hockey in general. It's not been fun. And this should be fun, and it hasn't been fun. And I know personally, and I'm sure I speak for just not only the four of us here, but many of you watching, there was a lot of soul searching done this week after we heard the details from the independent investigation on the sexual abuse allegations. And then we found out that it was Kyle Beach, and he just gave an incredibly courageous but heartbreaking interview. And if you haven't watched that, you need to. And obviously, if you can't handle what he has to say, and I get that, but you need to. It's just an amazing spectacle of courage from Beach. And I just want to say quickly that I know I speak for all of us at the Hockey Writers as a whole when I say that we support Kyle Beach, and we are sending him our thoughts and our love, and hopefully his courage coming forward will inspire more victims, not only of this scandal, because I think we're only scratching the iceberg here when it comes to this whole thing, but just any survivor of sexual abuse to speak up and reclaim control, because that's what that's all about. It's all about control and power. So hopefully everything that comes from here will bring him and anybody else who's suffering not only justice but peace of mind. So we are supporting Kyle Beach and anybody else who speaks up on this issue. And I know we're going to be committed to covering this team. I mean, it was tough. It really made me question things and thinking about what to do going forward. And we really don't know what to do going forward, but we're going to honor our commitment to you guys. And we're going to continue to cover this team on and off the ice. And listen, this game is full of wonderful people, and we need to make sure those people are recognized. They're being drowned out by the ugliness that's going on in this game right now, but it's up to us, all of us, front offices, players, reporters, fans. It's up to all of us. If we want to change the toxicity that's in hockey culture, we have to do it together. And this is a really good start. And speaking up and pointing out the faults is how we get better moving forward. So that's kind of what I needed to say about that. I expanded on a lot of those thoughts on an article that was up earlier this week about the scandal and how it's affected the entire hockey world. So if you want to check that out over on the hockeywriters.com And I'll open up the floor here. If anybody else has some thoughts or comments about this, Gail, I know you wanted to say something, so I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, the thing that hits me as sad and quite frankly really scary about this whole situation is what people refer to as the bystander effect. And in this case, it was a whole lot of passing the buck to someone else. When I read the report, this report was tough to read, but I wanted to read it and I wanted to get the facts. Everybody kept saying, well, I told this person and they said they were going to do something about it. And then, somebody else said, well, I'll tell this person and they said they were going to do something about it. And basically everybody absolves themselves. And then next thing you know, nobody did anything about it. And it's just John Tortorella, actually, Brooke's pick for the next Blackhawks head coach, brought this up on his broadcast the other day. He said, if just one person would have said, you know what, this is wrong. And you said you were going to do something about it. What are you doing about it? And that person might have said, oh, you're right, I should probably do it. And maybe followed up. Maybe that would have triggered somebody to follow up, and maybe the situation would have been a little bit different. So I guess that this is just a lesson to all of us, that when you think something is wrong, to go with your gut and to, even if you're scared about the peer pressure or getting laughed at or, just stand up for what you believe in, because likely you're not the only one that's having those feelings. And hopefully if we all kind of keep that in our heads to do that, then it'll trigger the right thing to happen more often than not.
Yes, that's 100% true. These types of behaviors and these types of predators only are allowed to operate under the code of silence. So that's what they rely on to use their power on others. So if we don't remain silent, these types of things can't happen in the future. Brooke, did you want to add something to this discussion?
I'm kind of just gonna say what I've been feeling the past few days. And one, I kind of just want to elaborate on one. I'm so proud of Kyle Beach and for standing up and telling his story. I couldn't read the report or his interview without crying. It was just so heartbreaking. And I can't tell you how ashamed and disgusted I am by the Blackhawks organization right now. I don't know how it is so deplorable what they put him through and how they basically enabled Aldrich to abuse others. I can't wrap my mind around it. It's just horrendous. So, and I know we've been talking about this, and I think all of us kind of took a little bit of a break there for a few days because we just didn't know how to kind of carry on with this news. And I know that we were spitballing beforehand here about just because we can feel ashamed and just really bad about the Blackhawks organization, but it's not fair to put that on the players who are here that had nothing to do with 2010. So I know we're going to keep trying, to just highlight that part of hockey for our viewers that are still here and want to see Blackhawks hockey content. But it is going to be hard to regain that trust and to just kind of have that full support of the organization, knowing what they put everyone through. It's so hard. And I can't say enough how sorry I am for Kyle and the victims for what they've been through, because it's an unimaginable trauma. But we're here for them always, and we're in their corner and we support them. And I'm sure the Blackhawks players who are in that room right now, it's been affecting them too. So we're going to just keep chugging along our best and keep supporting healing and justice for all sexual assault victims.
Well said, Brooke. Thank you. Shaun, what did you want to say on this topic?
Yeah, listen, I mean, you guys have done a great job of summing it up on all of our behalf, all of us at the Hockey Writers. But if I can just echo most of what you've already said, and I'm sure we all feel the same way, that's what I'm going to say next anyway. But first and foremost, the most tragic thing in this whole situation, regardless of how the Blackhawks handled it, is that this happened in the first place. So our support obviously goes to any victims involved, because this should have never happened to begin with. Then you consider the fact that it did, and as you guys have touched on, that it just fell flat as far as anybody trying to get support, is disgusting. And the one thing that stood out to me the most as far as how the Blackhawks failed to handle this in any way, shape, or form is when I started to hear the notion that it had something to do with how far they were, and they were in the playoff run, and there was the first cup in X amount of years. Who cares? Like that's despicable. That just brought me to another level of anger to hear that, because as we all agree with, hockey's hockey. Hockey's entertainment. Health and humanity above hockey always. So the fact that anybody had any sort of justification in their own mind to think that, what's happening on the ice should matter more than what's happening off of it is disgusting. And when I started to hear that, it just elevated, again, my frustration with all of this and just really put things into perspective for who was thinking what and who prioritized what. And clearly the Blackhawks as an organization, and as you guys have noted, everybody that was involved and everybody that found out and everybody that knew failed. Point blank, they failed. And it's deplorable. There's nothing that's excusable about it. The organization has a lot of work to do to try to gain any trust back from any onlookers. And frankly, we aren't the focus. Again, I'm going to bring this 180. The focus needs to be the victims. So the fact that Kyle Beach spoke up, as courageous as he was a wonderful thing for him to do. And I hope that if in any sense that could bring some sense of alleviation and relief, I hope at the very least that's what it was able to do. The Blackhawks, totally different story. They failed at every level of this.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. There's a long road to get their accountability back. They're saying the right things right now, but words are words. We need to see actions, and it's up to all of us to hold them accountable and make sure the right things are done going forward. We'll see how this unfolds. We can sit here for another 2 hours discussing the ramifications and what's right and what's wrong, but we just wanted to clear and get our thoughts out in the universe. And once again, give our support to Kyle Beach and any and all survivors, not only of this horrible incident, but just across the board. And I'm sure, again, I speak for everybody, and I've said this 100 times. You need someone to talk to. You don't know me, but my Twitter DMs are always open. Send me a message. If you just need to tell somebody, you can tell me, and it stays between us. And I'm pretty sure that goes across the board too. So it feels good to kind of get that off of our chests. So we'll move on to things that, don't feel quite as important anymore, especially this week. But we're going to talk about this team on the ice, which is, call them a dumpster fire right now, but I don't want to insult dumpster fires. So let's, who would have thought talking losing hockey would be the lighthearted part of this show, but that's right. Where we are in Blackhawks world right now. So let's move on. Let's talk about the week that was. Hey, 3 more losses. That's what we got. I believe I predicted that. I'm just going to keep predicting them to lose until they win. So, they stepped it up in class a bit this week against the Maple Leafs, Hurricanes and Blues, but, same old. And speaking of same old, Gail, your topic you want to talk on this week is, once again, your issues with the Blackhawks' inability to play a full 60 minutes. It seems like this is something we've talked about ad nauseum for a long time. What are your biggest concerns about this, Gail?
Yeah, I kind of want to piggyback on my topic from last week, which was the Blackhawks' efforts in the third period of the season. And we know it kind of goes across the board. Obviously, that's why I named it full 60 minutes. But in the third period, if you kind of highlight that and overtime, third period and overtime, in the first 9 games, they've scored 7 goals while giving up 10 goals, the Blackhawks. Only once have they headed into the third frame with the lead. And then once again, they were tied 0-0 with the Blues. So you would think, right, there should be some kind of push. There should be some kind of attempt to win, but really not so much. The Blackhawks put up 38 shots on goal in the third period in first 9 games, 42 shots for their opponent. It shouldn't be that way. They should be throwing everything on net. They should have more shots on goal. They should have more chances than their opponent if there's any sense of urgency to win. So I will say that in the Devils game, obviously that was a different story. They came back and forced overtime. They were a little bit better against the Detroit Red Wings in spite of being down 5-2 headed into the third. They still had some effort and some push. Against the Maple Leafs, oh my gosh, it was 2-1 heading into the third. They were winning, but yet 7 shots on goal to the Leafs 17. So it was like they backtracked. And to add insult to injury, we got to bring up David Kampf was the one that scored the tying goal, former Blackhawk. Jeez. Okay, but sure, they were
former client.
My former client, right. So I don't know. I could go into even more detail, but I guess I the Hurricanes, that was a mess. But they were losing 6-2. Blues, they were a little bit better. Obviously, 9 shots on goal to the Blues 8, so that was pretty even. So hey, let's bring it back to the 60 minutes. They scored first twice now. We got to look at the little things. A slow start against the Blues, but they weathered the storm and they arguably put up their best 60-minute game of the season. So they're going to do it, people. They're going to provide that finish and they're going to win a game. They really are. They really are. It's going to happen.
Who would have thought it's November and we're still waiting for that first win? It's pretty sad. Shaun, we'll have you put your coaching hat on now. If you were behind the Blackhawks bench, what would you do to remedy this? How would you go about making sure you get that third period?
It's going to sound so simple, but perhaps it doesn't need to be more complicated than this at this point, given the failures that they've already had throughout the start of the season. But for me, I'm just going to reward work ethic. The players who are playing the hardest, the players who are skating the hardest and skating the fastest and keeping that energy up, those are the players that are going to play. I don't really care about the names on the back of the jerseys because it feels like they're trying to balance things a little bit too much right now with players who just aren't getting it done. Just reward the players who are. Get them out there. If the energy is kept at a high level, production will come. So just keep rewarding those players who are doing that, whether they are veterans, whether they are stars, or whether they are prospects or rookies. I don't really care. If we want to see a full 60-minute effort, then let those who are showing it throughout the game have more ice time to show more of it. I think it's just that simple. And the reality is what that's going to do is it's going to motivate, especially the younger ones, to realize, hey, I have an opportunity here. If I can show that I can work hard, I'm going to get to play. This might be the open window they need to really prove what they can do, because then they're going to prove that they should stay in the lineup and get even more minutes as we move ahead here. So I think it's as simple as it is, but if the work ethic is there and the energy is there, just let those players play. Simple.
Simple. That's the key word there. I've been screaming simple for 3 years now. Time to strip it down, go back to basics, keep your ego at the door, and just play simple hockey and see what the heck happens, because it's not going to be any worse. Brooke, do you think it's time that we shake up this roster and maybe call some guys up from Rockford to find a spark, make a big trade? I mean, what do you do here? Or do you just keep throwing the same thing against the wall and hope it sticks?
Well, I'm kind of conflicted about this because my first response is yes, because honestly, whatever this group is doing is just not getting it done. It's 9 games and nothing. So obviously, this isn't a 1-game kind of fix. So I do think that something needs to happen, whether it's a trade or get someone being called up. I was thinking about Lucas Reichel and Alex Nylander, because they, I know, were producing offensively in Rockford and had been pretty well. But my other issue is I don't know if those are like completely game-changing players for right now. And I'm not saying that is a bad thing. It's just, unfortunately, we just don't have that luxury right now of those players that can just come right in, kind of like Suzuki, Nick Suzuki on the Montreal Canadiens, like someone like that. So it is kind of tough in that way. But overall, yes, I do think something needs to happen. And maybe my first choice would be Nylander, because honestly, he needs to show something or trade him. It's just what it is at this point.
Yeah, you got options there. I mean, we've talked about it a ton, and we'll probably mention it again. But hey, maybe let Dylan Strome play. Nylander, I'm not the biggest fan, but he's got some confidence playing well in Rockford. Reichel, I think you need to take your time with him. But again, he's playing with confidence, something nobody's doing in Chicago. They keep saying we need to have these guys that provide us with some toughness and some grit, like Reese Johnson and Mike Hardman. You know what those guys aren't providing? Wins. It's time to win. Forget about that. Get the best players possible out there and freaking play them. You're 0 for October. It's the worst start in franchise history, and this team's been around for a long time, and this is the worst it's ever been. I don't care about grit. I don't care about sandpaper energy. I want a freaking win by now. So it's a hot mess right now. I don't think we'll have any major changes until we get a permanent GM. So this season, it just might be, it is what it is. And maybe, we just shoot for the moon and get that number 1 pick, because it won't be protected if we get 1 or 2. So maybe that's the goal from here. Who knows? All right. Moving right along, Brooke, you are our master face-off watching writer. You love the face-offs, and rightfully so. It's a very important and underrated stat. And you're always keeping tabs on what the Hawks are doing at the face-off dot. So what have you been seeing early on this season?
By the way, I'm really sorry to the viewers who are probably like, girl, this girl is talking about face-offs again. I'm sorry. At this point, I'm the girl sitting watching the games with a telescope looking at the face-off circle. It's just what it is right now. But I thought that this area would be improved with Tyler Johnson and Jonathan Toews back and stuff. But I'm still seeing some struggles there. Now, Toews is still doing well in the face-off dot. I think he has a 58% win rate, which is the most on the team. Tyler Johnson's in the 50s too. So is Dylan Strome. That's okay. But they keep losing faceoffs again at the most pivotal times. This is the same issue we saw last year. On the power play, they've been losing a lot again. I saw Jonathan Toews miss a couple faceoffs on the power play against St. Louis that took a lot of time off the clock. It's just, I don't know what needs to happen there, but so far something needs to give because it's also affecting scoring too. It's just what it is. So I do think it's better maybe in wins. Not every single person was in the 50s last year. A lot of it was like in the 30s and is really bad. So yeah, I'm saying I'm still looking for improvement there, I would say. I'm not completely satisfied with what I've seen.
Yeah, you can't win. You can't score goals if you don't have the puck, and a good way to get that puck is winning that draw. So it goes hand in hand. Struggling offense and low face-off percentages kind of they feed off each other. Well, you mentioned Dylan Strome, and he's got a 52.4 face-off percentage right now, which a very small sample size because he's barely seen the ice, but he's won 11 of his 21 draws on the season. So, Gail, I'll put this question to you. At this point, would you give Dylan Strome an extended run, not only playing, but at center? And can it really make anything worse at this point?
Absolutely. I think that they should be playing Dylan Strome. You brought this up already. When you're losing, why are you playing Mike Hardman and Reese Johnson over Dylan Strome? They're nothing against them. They're two physical persons. They're hard to play against, but I just don't think that they bring as much to the table as Dylan Strome does. He had a great opportunity. I think he should be playing center, and he had a great opportunity to play next to his buddy DeBrincat this last game, the Blues game. 10 minutes and 2 shots on goal, 2 takeaways. And like you already mentioned, his face-off, which actually it seems like it's been improved because he was more like 42, 43, 44%, I think, in the past. And I feel like he's been working on it, and he has that drive, and he has that chip on his shoulder right now. And I think that he would be, if they don't play him tonight, I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah, they're bungling this spectacularly how they do. I mean, okay, you don't have a spot for him. You want to trade him? Well, guess what? Not playing him means his trade value is absolutely zero.
Right.
Like I don't think you can get this half-used pen I have right now for him right now. That's where his trade value is right now. You got to play him. And again, as you said, you don't have a win. He's better than half the guys you're putting out there, struggling or not. You got to play. You got to put your best roster on the ice at this point, and they're not. Which is, we sound like we're repeating ourselves every week.
and we should preface here that we're recording on Monday night, which they're playing a little bit later.
Right.
So,
yeah.
We're going to be saying things that tomorrow everybody kind of knows, but hopefully we're on the right track here with Strome playing and a win.
Hopefully by the time you listen to this on Tuesday morning, that Dylan Strome had a couple of goals and the Blackhawks got a win, but we'll see. Somebody who's not winning faceoffs, and it's a little concerning at this point, is Kirby Dach. He's a guy that everybody say he's going to be the next Jonathan Toews. Well, not if you don't win faceoffs, kid. His faceoff percentage is 35.1% right now. That stinks. Shaun, are you worried about this, or do you think this is just the growing pains you got to deal with as he still hasn't played 82 games yet in the NHL? So, what do you think?
I think he kind of answered the question in the question, and I would attribute this more to growing pains at this point. The reality is, never mind is he not had a full season under him, he doesn't even have 100 professional games yet in the 3 years he's played in this league. So you got to take that into account and take with a grain of salt what he's currently doing and how he's currently progressing. And speaking of progress, that's where my concern is. I want to see this 21-year-old continue to progress in the right way. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how the season ends, this Blackhawks team sped things up as we saw this offseason, and that's sort of put a wrench in some of what we could have otherwise called growing pains, and naturally seeing how these players like Dach progressed throughout that span. But now they've been thrown into a situation where this whole team is expected to win. Here's a kid who should be better than this, but maybe not yet. And that's the problem. I think it's just a confusing scenario right now. So I'm really not overly concerned. I'm somewhat concerned. Don't get me wrong. We all are. That's not a great number. It stinks, like you said. But not only has he not played 100 games in this league in 3 years, he's also only taken less than 75 faceoffs this year. So if I'm going to start getting concerned, it's going to be once he gets that 100 faceoff mark and then he gets into a groove and he gets more games under him, and we see what this whole system can do as a whole and as a unit, and what he can do to contribute towards it. So with all that said, there's too small of a sample size across the board. Overall experience this year, and the reality is he's still 21. So I still want to see him progress. And if he can do that throughout the season, then I'm happy.
If I can add something to that really quick, I think I saw during training camp, they had Kirby and Jonathan Toews going up against each other in the faceoff dot, and it was like back to back to back, like 6 times. Toews won them all, but I was like, this is good. Mm-hmm. He's got to learn, and he's learning from the best. So maybe kind of just keep up that kind of stuff, because he's got to learn, and he's going to learn as he gets older. So,
and that's the other important piece. Never mind against Toews, but against all of the best in the league, and usually those are going to be grown men. Those are going to be men who have done it for years and years and years. And he now has an opportunity to get that experience, just like you said, Brooke, whether that's against Toews or otherwise. So once he has more of that experience under his belt, then we'll start to judge accordingly.
Yeah, definitely be something to keep our eyes on. Revisit where he's at maybe in a few weeks and then see where we are. Some guys just aren't good at it. Yep.
Bring it up next week with my face-offs. Just keep it going.
Some guys just aren't good at it for whatever reasons, man. Hopefully that isn't the case here. So we'll keep an eye on Kirby at the dot. With that in mind, we're kind of remind everybody you're tuning into Blackhawks Banter here. This was our 50th episode. It's the Corey Crawford episode, and I think this season we're respecting and missing Corey Crawford more and more, and we're marveling at what he was able to do his last couple of years here. But don't forget, click subscribe on YouTube. You can also listen to the audio only versions of all of our episodes wherever you get your favorite podcast. So make sure you're following us there as well, so you don't miss any episodes. Follow us all on Twitter. Stay connected. We love having conversations, whether it's on Twitter, it's on Discord, or on the YouTube page. Don't forget also the Morning Skate. You can sign up for that as well. It's a great little daily newsletter that gets sent right to your inbox with all the news you need and cool little features. You can sign up for that at morningskate.io. So yeah, that's what we got going on across the Hockey Writers board, and we'll get back to the Blackhawks here. Maybe we got a little bit of positive to talk about this week. We'll see about that. Shaun, in our weekly preview post, you had written that you were a little encouraged despite the 3 losses this week. You used the term that they elevated their play. What was it that has you thinking along these lines?
Well, listen, I mean, we already talked about the 3 losses, and obviously we talked about them not having a full 60-minute effort, and we can all agree with that. Call it a sad state of affairs that maybe I'm just reaching for positive at this point, but I'll take it. Regardless of what the analytics might say and what the scores obviously say that they didn't get any wins and that they're outplayed and outchanced in the bigger scheme of things, I saw blips of positives through each of their games this past week that I wasn't seeing earlier on in the season. And that at least created a little bit of optimism in me to sort of grab onto and gravitate towards and hope that that's a sign of things to come. You talk about the Maple Leafs again. They're up early on a contender. They're up 2-0 in that first period. Brought it all the way to overtime. Obviously, they let the lead go, and we know that's a concern in and of itself, but they got a point against the Maple Leafs, and that's promising. The Hurricanes obviously sort of manhandled them, so to speak, throughout the game, but the reality is the production throughout was across the board, across multiple lines, and they got power play production in that game as well. Positives all around. And with the Blues, like we said, and like we all agree, likely their best overall effort to date. Fleury stood on his head clearly, but they showed signs of being able to maintain composure against a team that's actually leading the league in goals for per game at over 4 at the moment, and the Hawks kept them to 1. So while we still want to see a full team effort, and while they need to collectively have all of those positives combined into one game and one full 60-minute effort, the reality is the fact that they showed blips of those positives was promising, because now it's just a matter of bringing it all together, adding to the cohesion, and creating a full collective effort to see what this team can really do in a full 60 minutes.
All right, we need all the positive we can get. So let's keep this good mojo rolling. Brooke, tell us one positive takeaway you had from this past week. There's got to be something out there.
To be honest, it was kind of what Shaun just said, and that was the fact that they only held St. Louis to 1 goal. I mean, they were allowing 3 or 4 goals average a game leading up to that. So that was progress. And I mean, maybe they could have scored, the St. Louis could have scored more, but Marc-Andre Fleury stood on his head and kept it at 1. So you know what? Team effort. I don't even care. Marc-Andre Fleury stole it. I'm happy for him. So I'm going to say that's a big progress. And they also forced a lot of turnovers in that game. It seemed like every shift the Blues were turning it over. Unfortunately, they couldn't cash on that. But hey, you keep doing that, and Marc-Andre Fleury still himself and gives, the team the space, to produce and that time to enforce a lot of turnovers, and, things start going your way. You start getting some puck luck. Who knows? But those are encouraging signs.
Very good, very good. Gail, same question to you. Tell us something good. What's good with the Hawks these days?
All right. Well, they're continuing with powerful special teams. 9 goals on 36 opportunities on the power play, which is 9th in the league. Only allowed 4 goals on 31 opportunities on the penalty kill, which is 6th in the league. So they got that going for them. If they could just carry that over to 5-on-5. And 2 more things. It was nice to see Brandon Hagel and Adam Gaudette both score their first goal this week.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, the special teams, they're definitely, man, imagine how bad this could be if neither of those was performing, because they sure can't play at 5-on-5. But again, we've only been talking about that forever now. So we're trying to stay positive here. So go special teams, go Brendan Hagel, Marc-Andre Fleury, Adam Gaudette,
Yay, effort.
Yay.
Yay for effort.
I feel like that Simpsons episode with the cake. At least you tried, that's where we are
exactly.
Right now. That's where we're at this point of the season. Participation awards for everybody. Way to go, team. All right, we're going to head into a little quick fire. This is our weekly shootout round where we're going to just keep one after another. Quick answers, quick questions, just like if the Blackhawks were to ever get to a shootout this season. So we're just going to go rapid fire around the board here and see where we are. And we just mentioned Marc-Andre Fleury a second ago. So real quick, do you think Saturday's performance is what's going to turn Fleury's season around after some struggles? Of course, Shaun, we're starting with you on this one.
100% yes.
All right, Gail, is that what we were looking for Marc-Andre?
I agree. Yes, he was in some sort of a rut, but this will help snap him out of it for sure.
Brooke, what do you think?
Yes, I didn't think he was going to struggle for that long.
Yeah, definitely. It was good to see. Hopefully he can build on that. And you can't have 2 good games in a row without that first one. So let's keep the momentum going. Seth Jones, he's been a very polarizing player ever since he was acquired by the Blackhawks. But if you scroll down to the bottom of the daily download page, which I hope you're doing every morning, you'll see he leads the team in scoring with 7 points, all of them assists. Time for a prediction. Will he still be the team's leading scorer at the end of November? Gail?
No, he'll be close, but I think Kane will surpass him as soon as he comes back.
All right, Brooke?
Yes, because he plays the most on the team.
Yeah.
Shaun?
No, the Brinket's just getting started and he's going to fly right by him.
All right, I'm going to say that he still will be, just for the fact that he's getting a lot of his assists on that power play. And if they only score on the power play, he's literally going to assist on every goal they score. So that's my point here. All right, so you mentioned Patrick Kane. He's one of those guys, a bunch of guys that have been part of the COVID protocol here and haven't been able to play. Do you think with all these guys missing, including your best player, is that saving Jeremy Colleton's job right now? Brooke, what do you think?
No, I think the organization thinks pretty highly of Colleton, so no.
Shaun, do you think this is buying him more time?
No, I completely agree with what Brooke just said. I don't know what's buying him more time per se, but this isn't it. But yeah, this isn't the reason.
Gail, what do you think?
I think a little bit. I think it's not just the COVID, but everything that's been going on. There's been so much change and so much upheaval that they need to let the dust settle before they're going to make any more moves, big moves.
Yeah, I agree with that last statement pretty much. At some point, they're going to have to refocus on the product and the ice. And if there's nobody in the stands come December, they got to do something in a hurry. I mean, he's obviously a lame duck coach because you bring in a new GM at some point. He's going to want his own guy. So maybe just ride out, see what happens. Speaking of new GMs, the Blackhawks will be in the market for one, or they are in the market for one once all this stuff goes. And that's a job. That's going to be a tough job at this point. But if you can hire anyone who's available, we're not stealing from somebody else, but if you can hire anyone who's currently available to be the next general manager of the Blackhawks, who is your choice? Shaun, who you got?
I don't know how you don't go with Eddie Olczyk.
Eddie O, that's probably a popular choice. Brooke, who's your next? I'm sorry, Gail. We'll go. I'm keeping in order here. Gail, who's your next GM?
Okay, I'm not going to be fair here, but there's two people actually that are on my radar. One is Ryan Hardy, who did excellent things with the Chicago Steel. And the other would be Kevin Weeks, ESPN and NHL Network, very well known and liked, and basically makes this his business to know everything about hockey. So I think he'd be an awesome choice too.
Brooke, who's your next GM? Torts?
Yeah, mine was Eddie Olczyk. He just seems to understand the Blackhawks in a way that no one else does at the moment.
Yeah. I'm going to go. My guy is Kevin Weeks. I love Kevin Weeks. I think he is just so in tune with today's game. He's exactly what they need. I know a lot of people are going to want Eddie Olczyk to get kicked up to the front office. Nothing personally against Eddie. You need somebody that from outside the organization. Now, Olczyk he's a company man. He's been around. He's going to see the eyes. You need a different set of eyes. You need someone from outside the organization right now, because unfortunately, if you put Eddie in there, I think it's going to be status quo, and you need to change things. So Kevin Weeks is my guy. That would be a great hire on so many levels, including hockey. All right, last round of the shootout round. Before we record our next episode, the Blackhawks are going to play 4 games. The Senators game is not facing off for about another hour at the time of recording, so bear with us. But they're playing the Senators, the Hurricanes, the Jets, and Predators. Quick fire predictions. Which one of these teams are the Blackhawks going to get their first win against? Or do they still have a big old goose egg in that win column when we get together next week? Gail?
I'm feeling a win against the Senators, and that should lead them to maybe 1 or 2 more. So I'm being really optimistic.
All right. Well, by the time this hits, we'll know if you were right or wrong. So quick return on your answer, Brooke.
Yeah, the Senators. I think that's their best chance out of the 4.
Hope we're not jinxing them.
Yeah, I know.
Shaun, what do you think?
Well, if we're jinxing him, this won't help because I'm going to say Senators as well.
All right. Well, I'm going to go and say, because hockey is stupid and nothing ever makes sense, that they're going to get their first win of the season against the Predators, a team they couldn't beat last year at all, because it just makes perfect sense. Let's just go up is down, white is black right now. Let's just say they beat the Predators. That's my prediction. Maybe they beat a team before then, but I'm just going to go say that they're going to beat Nashville because no one thinks they're going to, and then they're going to.
Okay.
So there we go. Those are our predictions for the week. That wraps up the shootout round. And real quick, before we put a nice big bow on this episode, let's quickly go around the room and let us know what you guys are working on, what our fans can look forward to or already check out over at thehockeywriters.com. Brooke, what have you got for us?
So I just released my opinion piece about how the Blackhawks can't get out of their own way. And a lot of our viewers had mentioned that they want more of those opinion type pieces. So I'll be sure to keep working on that.
All right. That sounds awesome. I can't wait. Shaun, what have you got working on?
Another one of my weekly goalie reports will be published the same day this episode drops, and I'm going to start to explore what to me seems like a pretty obvious coaching change behind Chicago's bench.
All right. I'm sure that will get the interest in the comments going. Maybe we'll have a discussion about that next week. Gail, what are you working on for us?
All right, I'm going to commit to the next edition or installment of Blackhawks Bites, and it's nothing but positive quotes from a really good week this week.
All right, that's the spirit. Our beacon of optimism has returned. They haven't beaten it out of her yet. Good to see. As always, I've got my daily Today in Hockey History post you can check out every morning, as well as every morning the Blackhawks Daily Download, where you can get all your information. There's a lot of cool links, not only to our stuff internally, but outside stuff as well. All the information you need at the click of one button every morning. My latest edition of the AHL Central News is live, and you can check it out to catch up on the Ice Hogs and the Wolves and the entire division, and all that kind of fun stuff. The Prospect Corner show comes out every Sunday, so if you want to know what the future might look like around the National Hockey League, check that out as well. So lots of great stuff across the board, not only with our Blackhawks team here, but just all across the site on the Hockey Writers. Make sure you're checking multiple times a day, because there's great stuff coming up every day, no matter what team you're a fan of. And that includes on the YouTube channel as well. We got something for everybody. And that's going to wrap up the Corey Crawford episode of Blackhawks Banter. We do appreciate all of you for tuning in and checking us out, whether it's on the YouTube channel or on your favorite podcast source. The fact that you're listening, we appreciate it. We love hearing from you guys. Leave us some feedback. You've got literally 1,000 ways to get a hold of us. So no excuses. We want to hear from you. So until next week, hopefully we've got some wins to talk about when we get back here next week. But once again, thanks to Shaun, Brooke, and Gail for chatting during this difficult week. And we will see you guys next week. Thank you.